want to thank everybody for joining us today. Another awesome webinar held by Dan and myself here at V1. We have a new guest here, Ron Gring. We'll do some introductions here in a minute. But just in regards to housekeeping, guys, please look for your chat function within the StreamYard here. That'll be a really great place for you to ask questions for Ron and Dan as we get going here based on some of these opportunities that are in front of you. So if you have some time, put a question in there. We'll make sure we get to it at the end of the webinar. In regards to today's conversation, we're going to be going over a business review with Dan and Ron. Ron, if you don't know who Ron is a longtime V1 user. He's Golf Magazine Top 100 instructor with over 40 years experience. He's located at Terra Vita Golf and Country Club in Scottsdale, Arizona. We're really lucky to have him here. Ron came to us with an opportunity to say, hey, I wanted to grow online and leverage the tools that I have at V1. What can you do for me? And he's had some success. So excited to unpack there. And then obviously, if you haven't met Dan, Dan is a business consultant. He's our V1 online expert, specializing in golf instructors breaking free from the grind of endless in-person lessons and building something more scalable. He's also created the hybrid client flywheel system. It helps countless coaches transition from profitable online coaches business by blending live instruction and digital offerings. Dan has been with us for over the last 6 webinars, and he continues to show his expertise and help us guide a lot of our coaches into this realm of online coaching. So again, please ask your questions in the chat. I'm going to hand it over to Dan. Thanks.
Awesome. Glad to be back and excited for today. We decided to do something a little bit different and bring Ron on for a bit of a business audit. We were chatting before we went live, and he has already given me permission to be as brutal as I want to be. So this should be fun. Biggest things that I hope that everybody watching takes away from this is that business is really just it's a series of things happening in sequence. Similar to a golf swing that's producing an outcome or result that you want. It's all trackable. It all comes down to understanding math and numbers behind it. And so a lot of the things we're going to talk about and discuss is I'm going to ask Ron a bunch of questions to better understand where his business is currently at, and then also what he wants to achieve from it. And then we're going to look at what is the key log in achieving that success. So like what, if you've ever seen, maybe you have never seen this before, but I always love this analogy where the key log, if you have a river that dams based on, they used to try to send wood down the river, right, as a transportation system before we had these massive trucks that could do it. And so what would happen is this lumber logs a lot of times would dam at different parts of the river. And so they bring in a specialist, someone like an engineer. I don't know what that position was actually called, but what they would do is they would pick out one log that needed to be removed that would open up this jam in the river and let the logs continue to flow. And ultimately, that's what I try to do in a business. There's lots of things you could do, but we want to find the key log that opens up the flow and keeps things moving, and then prioritize based on that and go from there. Not too dissimilar, Ron, I'm sure, to how you help players is we don't work on everything at once. We understand that we need a key area of focus, and then we have to get our player to like actually focus on that and ignore everything else. And that's what we're going to look to find today. But Ron, anything you wanted to add to your introduction about being here today, or just that you hope people take away from watching this?
Well, I want the other instructors and people watching to understand this has been a weakness of mine since I began teaching full time. I've been teaching for a long time, but full time since roughly 1999, 2000, and this has been a weakness of mine. It's a miracle that I've had success in instruction based on my skills as in marketing. It's an absolute miracle. I don't want to be bad at this. I really don't. It's like if I was a terrible driver of the ball, I don't want to drive it bad. I want to drive it good, but I don't know what I'm doing. And so that's when you have to enlist the help of experts, people who have a verifiable track record of knowing what they're doing to give you a plan. And in my case, I've had plans, they didn't work. So I got disgruntled with it and just kind of didn't do anything. And then I found a different plan and tried that and it didn't work. And so, and again, it's on me. It's not on the people offering those plans. It's completely on me. But I would say don't be embarrassed and don't be shy and don't be reluctant because you're not good at marketing, but you're an outstanding instructor, or you want to be an even better instructor and you're still not good at marketing yourself. This is the key piece. So empty your cup and just start.
Yeah, I love it. The old analogy from Field of Dreams where they said, if you build it and they will come, that does not apply to business at all. So I would put that old adage or saying away and try to forget it, because the reality is, like, there are instructors, coaches, and even influencers on the internet who do not have the body of knowledge that a lot of people watching this do, that quite frankly aren't very good at helping golfers get better, who are succeeding more than a lot of great instructors are succeeding just because they understand the game of marketing. And, that's a lot of why I like to do what I like to do, is because there's so many, best kept secrets out there. There's these amazing instructors with vast body of knowledge, years and years of experience, thousands of golfers that they've helped in person, that just don't know how to translate that into online and into marketing in today's world. And that's why I love to do what I get to do every single day. So, all right, let's dive in, because we don't have too long to uncover everything. But Ron, I'd love to know, just for me, and I have some background on Ron, but there's a lot of stuff, the details that I don't know. So you guys are going to get to see, like, real time. We're walking through this, asking these questions and exposing a lot of it. So with that, would you rather focus primarily online or a bit of a blend of in-person and online? What would be the most beneficial for you?
Well, having had a few birthdays, the thing that I'm hoping for is to grow the online business to the point where I don't have to be out in the Arizona heat in the coming years. And also, this particular club, it's a very interesting culture in that there are a lot of people who love to play golf. They're avid golfers. They play all the time. Tee times are so valued and so precious here, but yet they don't want to improve. And so I see, even though I have a captive audience, I see the difficulty in persuading the general membership to participate in anything related to instruction. Doesn't mean I'm giving up. Doesn't mean I'm not optimistic and hopeful. Doesn't mean I want to throw that away. But I think a counterbalance to the membership instruction activity is online. And I've enjoyed it very much, and have been very uh, encouraged by the response since we started doing this.
Awesome. I love it. In, let's say, 6 months to a year time, in a perfect world, painting like the dream scenario of what this looks like with your online business, what would that be?
I'd like to have 50 people that are, and I know people drop in, drop out, and I understand, but I'd like to have kind of a base of 50 people to work off of all the time by the end of next July. That would be the ideal scenario. Hopefully sooner. And the way it's going, we probably might reach that watermark quicker than that. But I hopefully we get to 50 and then see what the next phase is after that.
Awesome. I love it. And let's talk a little bit about how it is going right now. So how many active do you have right now in total working with you online?
Well, we had 8, and now we've got 7. One had to drop out for life circumstances, not because he didn't enjoy the experience and wasn't getting a benefit from it. But we've got 7, and they're from all over the country: Tallahassee, New York City. They're and then most of the inquiries I get are actually from overseas. So
Very cool.
the kind of here's a video, and then most of those kind are from overseas. But 7 so far at $200 a month. We're just getting started, but that's 7 more regular clients that I didn't have prior to July.
Yeah. Amazing. So yeah, it's all since July.
Yeah, all since July. Yeah.
Very cool. I love that. So setting reasonable expectations, not necessarily for you, Ron, because I think you have good expectations of this whole thing, and just by what you've said already and attitude. But anybody watching, what I would not expect, and this is hard because in the online marketing, make money online space, it's basically because it's gotten so crowded and saturated. What has happened as a market saturates is you start to get these wild promises. And the way to do marketing as this market saturates is just to overpromise, 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 bigger guarantees, bigger offers, all this kind of stuff. So it gets kind of crazy when you start to see like make money online opportunities and setting realistic expectations of what that should look like. It's very few and far between that a coach will go from in person only to online and magically in 3 months make 10, 20, 30K a month, right? It's like, it's very
That's right.
challenging and hard to do. Yeah. And
Right.
so just for anybody watching, like what I'm going to try to paint the picture of is like a realistic journey that Ron's about to go on, clear expectations of what that might look like. And then, KPIs that we should be tracking along the way to get us there ultimately at the end of the day. And anytime like best laid plans, right? Any plan that we do have will change. My dad, who was in the Army for 30 years, used to always say that like no plan survives first contact with the enemy, right? Which is true in business too, which is best laid plans will never actually work exactly that way. So you have to be flexible and willing to make changes as you go. But not having a plan also sets you up for a pretty big failure because you're not ready for anything when you get in there. So cool. So based on that initially, so 7 right now, we got to 8. One had to drop out just because like that will always happen. I think that's a good thing just to illustrate for anyone that is watching is the expectation that once somebody signs up, they will stay forever. They won't. It's just not going to happen. And so churn is a very important metric, especially if you're doing recurring payments for a coaching subscription. That's like your model that you want to build. You have to take into consideration churn. Now, if we're doing a one-on-one coaching experience, churn will be lower than it will be in a low ticket membership. So the first thing I'd love to cover is like business model and understanding like why we would pick a different one to get to a different revenue target. So basically, quick math in my head, what you told me by next July is you want to make $10,000 a month consistently from online. Right.
That's correct.
Cool. I love it. And so I like the direction that you have gone. I think it's a pretty good starting place for a price point for a coach of your experience and just starting online. What we'll probably map out and talk about a bit over the next year is how that price goes up as you hit different saturation points.
Right. Right.
And you may have already been thinking about that and considering it.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's I kind of thought of this, Dan, and please, again, I thought of it as kind of a multi-phase. Phase 1, a lot of loss leaders, a lot of please send me videos at no charge at all. Let's do a Zoom call, which I want to talk about more later if we have the chance.
I love it.
And all of that at no charge, so I can show you the value of what you're going to be getting and how this can benefit you greatly and how you have access all the time. And that's phase 1. And hopefully that gets us to 50. Then phase 2, that's when we start saying, how can we enhance the experience? How can we add value? And then also earn the right to charge more. And then phase 3 is, okay, let's bring in other instructors because there's so much volume that one person really can't keep up with 150 people. There's just no way to handle that volume of videos coming in every day for analysis and diagnostics. And that's the way I thought about it so far. But phase 3 is the one that doesn't have a lot of detail. Phase 2 has some detail. Phase 1 has a good amount of detail, but not enough.
Yeah, and I think that's an appropriate place to be with planning into the future. Like you don't have to know exactly what this is going to look like 3 to 5 years from now. But I do want an initial why even start this thing, right? Like what's the intention of doing this? So most coaches don't even have that. Like they don't even know what's a general amount that I want to make? How many clients do I want to work with to make that amount? And then work back into some of your pricing based on that. And what's like reasonable and what would create the lifestyle that you ultimately want, right? It's like you're starting to see, okay, I have 7, I got to 8. So I know what that feels like. I think that getting to 50 clients online in my current model is doable. And then the reward of making 10K a month from those 50 clients and the experience that they would have, that feels good, right? And so most coaches, it's like, all right, well, they slap a random number on this coaching relationship. And then just say like, I'm just going to get as many of those as I possibly can and make as much money as possible. And it gets hectic pretty quick. I know some coaches that charging $50 a month for this unlimited plan, working with 150 plus people that are just submitting videos to you all the time. That's not a lifestyle I would want to live. So I would encourage anybody like listening, think about that, plan out what you want this actually to look like. Then we can create the business around it. I like the direction that Ron has gone already, even without my advice, like him doing this himself and working with V1 on it. It's a good starting place. I would not go the route of doing a low ticket membership access product to start because if you work back into those numbers, it gets really hard to get to $10,000 a month. The churn goes through the roof. So if you don't know what churn is just a metric to understand how many people leave your recurring product every single month. And so with a low ticket membership, usually the stick rate online is 3 to 4 months on average. Let's just say you're charging $20 a month. Now your lifetime value, how much that customer will pay you over the course of them being with you, is not very high. That business model, very hard to make work unless you are a George Gankis that has 1 million followers on the internet, right? So like it works for somebody that has a massive following. If that's not you, go more this direction. Start at a price point that feels good to you. And I wouldn't start probably less than $150, $200 a month for access, right? Because if you're thinking about that, that's the cost of one good lesson, right? And they're going to get you as a coach in their back pocket, which is infinitely more valuable. And then increase over time as you hit different thresholds of membership. So what I'd love to talk about, so we need to net out 43 people over the next, 6 to 9 months is probably pretty reasonable to do that. And because July, August, September, so basically 3 kind of full months, we're getting about 2 to 3 per month right now. And then we're going to just look to like maybe up that volume a little bit, mitigate churn as more people come on, and then start to understand metrics behind new client acquisition, churn metrics, how long they stay. Cool. Now we can project how fast we can hit this based on that. And then you have 2 levers to pull when it comes to that. So primary acquisition, where are they coming from? Where did the 8 people that initially signed up come from?
Right. Well, I'm blessed and fortunate that I've been with V1 a long time. I have a giant, huge, massive file of videos of people that I've been doing since I started with V1 in 2000, 2001, somewhere around in there, back with Gary Palace and the original crew with V1. And so I've got these archived and giant files of videos that I've taken of people that have had live one-on-one in person, and then the video recording of that session. They have to have email addresses and phone numbers so that I can send them those videos. Well, there was the database. And I just thought the lowest hanging fruit is people who have already had the experience with me. So, and that would include TerraVita members as well. So I just started with that email list. And then through MailChimp created this multi-week program to send out videos kind of on the front end of video, and then a little short, very short 3-paragraph theme or tip, followed by this is how we can get together every week. And it's $175 for one-on-one for 60 minutes. For $200, you can get me as many times as you want to take video and send it to me. That's how many times you can get me. And again, this is part of phase 1, not forever.
Yeah.
And so I went with the V1 database that I already had. We scrubbed it. We did everything that we needed to do to try to make it work. That was a bit of a challenge. That was an obstacle. MailChimp did not want to cooperate with the database that I had, probably for some pretty good reasons, but we kept having to pare it down and pare it down and pare it down. And now I've got a very usable, workable process where every week except one since July, I've sent out to that database a short video and then a short description of a tip that's something you can do. And then here's the landing page. All the links work. It connects directly to YouTube, so you can watch the video. And it's not easy, but it's very efficient once it gets done. I haven't grown that database list yet, and that's what I'm starting to do this week. Is I'm starting to reach out to people that maybe I have not worked with before, and adding them to the database.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to pinpoint on that really quickly because that is 1000% true. That's the best place to start. And so I love that Ron has already done this. Like we had a podcast probably a month ago where myself and Alex, CEO of V1, we sat down and talked about some of the things that we felt were really important to coaches. And one of the things we talked about at length was the idea that a lot of coaches already have leads. This is true of golf coaches, but this is also true of most coaches that want to do anything on the internet and sell any bit of knowledge that they do have. Is usually you already have leads that you're discounting or, not pursuing in the right way. Mm-hmm. So what I would do first is what Ron did, is put together a database of everyone you have ever worked with. And ideally, if you were smart enough to get on a platform and stick with it for this entire time, to where that database is all in one and it's collected all the phone numbers and emails, that's amazing. But even if you don't have that, like, try to scrape as much as you possibly can, because that's the place 100% that I would start. Like, if your coach has been doing this for 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years, there's a list of hundreds, if not thousands, of people that you potentially have the contact information for that just need to hear from you. They haven't in a very long time. They probably need to just understand that you've started to do this and what that might look like for them. Now, there's going to be a consideration phase for a lot of them because they've only done in person, right? That's what they probably know in a lot of cases. So is that going to mean that, like, all of a sudden you get 200 people to sign up? No, but you may get some people interested. And so, Ron, I'd love for you to talk about this a little bit, because you mentioned it earlier. How did you get people interested from that list in trying it out? Because you said, like, free analysis at first and, like, just trying to get people to test what it would look like. What did that look like for you?
Well, and just to get right to the ground level with what I decided to do, it basically says you send me 2 swings face on, 2 swings down the line, and I will run the full diagnostics and I will send it to you at no charge. And then I would like to schedule a Zoom call with you after you had a chance to look at the diagnostics of those swings, so we can talk about a plan for your improvement. Because very often in 10 minutes, you really can't come up with a whole plan for this person to get better. You could just kind of describe what's going on. This could be better. Here's your number 1 priority. Here's maybe your number 2 priority. Let's do a Zoom call so I can tell you how to make that better. And that's at no charge as well. And so that message is, yes, it's in the email. Great. But it's more importantly in the video that I send them back. They're hearing my voice and hearing me very sincerely, wanting to help them get better. And then this is the process of doing that. And that people that don't live in Arizona and don't live in Alabama where I used to be, those people that moved but still like the relationship. And if I could sidebar just for 1 second, it's all about the relationship. It's not about it's the relationship that you develop with that person. It's more than just the instructor's knowledge. The knowledge is fine. It's great. congratulations, you're the smartest guy in the room. Yay. Without the relationship, it doesn't really make any difference that you know all this stuff about golf performance improvement. Without the relationship, it's meaningless. So what I'm trying to do is to develop relationships, sincere, heartfelt relationships with the people I'm trying to help, more so than just memberships and revenue and those sorts of things. I really want and feel like this is a way to help people fulfill their potential in golf. And that transcends even shooting a lower score and having a lower handicap.
I love it. Yeah, really important points that you made there. And you came on saying like you're not good at marketing at all, but you've figured out some things that a lot of coaches have not been able to figure out. And that's like you mentioned a phrase earlier, loss leader, which for anybody that doesn't know, it's like you're just accepting that you have a product that you're going to sell on the front end and take a loss on just to establish the relationship. So I always screw this up, but I heard this from a marketer. It was you get the sale you get the sale to get a customer, not the customer to get a sale. And basically what that means is like the whole point of getting the initial sale from someone is to establish the initial relationship with a potential customer or client that's going to be doing business with you for a very long time. And so I love that relational approach where we can very easily get into thinking about things in dollar signs and numbers and money and income. And so I think too many coaches, when they move online, completely lose that personal approach to it. So one is the only thing that they focus on with the content that they create is tips, knowledge. I have to show how smart I am. That's one component of it. It's not even the most important. More so is like if you can show the relationships you have with your students and what that looks like and how transformational that is, much more valuable. And then two, if you can build a relationship with the people who choose to follow you, who choose to open your emails and consume that content, who choose to watch your YouTube, whatever that is, that relational component is really huge. So many coaches I talk to that are trying to find leads on the internet don't want to have one-on-one DM conversations with people that follow them to get them as leads or potential students. I'm like, what do you mean? Like that's you should really love that because one, you're building the trust with them, which is ultimately why people buy, to sign up. But two, you're actually figuring out if they would be a good student to work with you anyway. And so if you want this completely hands-off process where you throw a link in your bio, there's a price on a site that people can sign up, you're going to get bad clients because that person can come from anywhere. There's no pre-vetting. There's no conversation had beforehand, and they can just buy. And that's where you get the client that's like hitting you up all the time, complaining, does 30 days with you and then asks for a refund, even though they literally sent you a video every single day that you gave feedback on and then never did anything with it. Like you don't want those clients. So the relationship is so important. And that's why I just wanted to emphasize that again, build the relationships as far as procedurally, tactically. It's a great way to start what Ron intuitively did, which was hey, I want to give them value in advance, but then I want a relationship, human to human connection component of this sales process, whether you labeled it that or not, but that was instinctively what you felt would do the best to get somebody to want to work with you. I think a lot of coaches miss that in online. So I'd highly recommend using something similar to what Ron did. And I think coaches complain a lot too about doing free analysis and then having people ghost them and whatever, not end up signing up. That's where I think this is key is deliver that initial value, but then in the actual video, this is great. This is such a small thing that I don't want people to miss. In the actual video, Ron encourages them to do the Zoom because it will be infinitely more valuable for them if you can spend time like this, like we're doing right now. I could have sent Ron a Loom video, which is screen recording of his landing page and email stats and said, hey, these are things you need to change, whatever. This is way more powerful. Us spending 15 minutes before the call to get to talk, us being live now and having this communication, that's way more powerful. So,
and if I could just say this, 6 out of 7 of the actually number 8 also, 7 out of the 8 people that signed up was after a Zoom call. It wasn't prior to a Zoom call. Exactly 0 people, 0, have signed up without a Zoom call. Okay. So my goal in doing the free diagnostics and analysis is to get a Zoom call and see if there's a relationship possible. Some players there may not be, but only one person has not signed up for a Zoom call, and he's going to. It's just life circumstances are in the way, but he's going to do it. And so for the instructors, I understand. I understand. I'm spending all this time doing all these free analysis, and I'm sending it back to this person, and I don't think they're ever going to sign up. Okay, but you get to practice doing it. You get to practice not only doing the golf swing diagnostics and then describing what you think they should do, but you get to practice trying to persuade them to call you and develop a relationship. How else are you going to practice that if you don't have all these videos coming in that maybe your intuition says this person's never gonna do this. He's just taking advantage of me. I had that same tape running in my head, but the reality is I'm getting better and better and better and better at putting my message out there because of these fingers in the air quotes lost leaders, and it's exposure that I wouldn't have had otherwise. But what if that person that never signs up with you tells all the guys in his group?
Yep. Yeah. I love it. Okay, so just big takeaway recap before we move on and talk like numbers for
Yep.
Ron. But I think this stuff's been like already so valuable for a lot of coaches listening is use your old database, whatever you
Yes.
have. Start to email them at least once a week to get back in touch with them. The very first email should just be something like, hey, sorry I disappeared. Hope you're well. Here's what I'm planning to do with these emails, right? And just get back into their inbox, get back into the habit of them opening it up. If you want a simple email provider, ESP, as it might be called, email service provider, that's easy to set up and get launched very quickly. MailChimp is a great one. It's one of the cheaper options out there for sending lots of emails too. And they'll immediately start to let you start to send and get pretty good deliverability rates, which is a part of this. If you're bringing a big list in, like it sounds like Ron did, what you want to consider is even if you upload this thing, and big list would be like multiple thousands of contacts, you probably want to start by emailing small segments and then expanding from there. So any email service provider doesn't really like it when you bring 10,000 new contacts and just like blast them all right away, because they have people that you do that with spam practices, which is that hurts their deliverability and hurts their entire business. So they don't like that. So if you have a bigger list, break it into small segments that you email over the course of the week, and you can send the exact same email Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, just to small groupings of your list, and then eventually weave them all together. But that's just like warming up an email campaign. And then from there, I love the way that you did this, which was like, hey, I'm going to start with just lead with value in every single email, and then a very simple call to action about how they can potentially learn more and get a conversation with you going. And so if you're looking at an email template, I think it's a great place to start. Lead with some value, simple tip, send a video, get them interacting by watching you on video and on screen, like hearing you talk, and then provide them an easy, free way to get some more value by building the relationship through, well, we're calling a loss leader, in this case, but like, it's just a relationship builder, right? It's a way to get connection with that person.
Yeah. That's much better way to say it.
Yeah. If everybody watching this, if you just started with those actions, you would drum up some business right away. So cool. So let's focus on you and how we take this kind of to next levels. One is you're just going to continue doing what you're doing. But consideration now is like, okay, eventually everybody that's going to want to see the message of working with me on my current list is going to see it. And they're going to decide whether they want to do this or not. So to continue to grow the business over time, we probably need to bring new people onto that list, right? So that's probably what you had in mind.
Yep.
What were your ideas about ways to do that effectively?
Well, again, trying to go for folks that have name recognition. So that would be expanding the current V1 list to all Terra Vita members. Now, Terra Vita is an interesting place. We have golf members, we have residents, or they're called social members, and then we have people who are seasonal who rent houses within the Terra Vita grounds, and they're only here for a few months a year. Most of the people that play here are this is their winter home. They live someplace else, but they do own a home here, and they don't rent it out during the summer. And so the next phase for me is, okay, what would be the quickest way to expand this email list? And that's Terra Vita golf members, Terra Vita social members that currently do not participate in instruction.
Yeah, I love it.
And then, and then the next thing would be the greater Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tempe, Chandler, Maricopa County, that whole giant conglomeration of golfers. It's interesting, I think, Dan, that in this section of Arizona, we still have more golfers than we have golf holes that can accommodate them. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what it's like anywhere else in the country. I'm too close to this one. I have no idea. But the market is flooded with golfers, and they're paying, I think, well, let's just call it premium rates to play places in this greater Phoenix, Scottsdale area. I mean, it's crazy how much they're paying to play TPC Scottsdale or Southern Dunes, or and memberships have gone nuts. I mean, Silver Rock is Troon Country Club doesn't even take applications anymore. They have a 5-year wait list. They're just not even taking applications, much less, so don't even apply to join because you can't. And that's the market I'm dealing with. Now, again, how do you persuade them that improvement in golf is possible first and available? How do you persuade them? That's the Mount Everest right there. Not do you have golfers you can access? And I know that a lot of my brethren in the country, they don't have enough golfers. Their captive audience of golfers is very small. And so I have a large number of captive audience, but how do I persuade them that their improvement is possible and that they can play much better, and that I have the resources and the skills to help them do that? That's where I'm stuck.
Cool. Awesome. A couple things that I do want to touch on quickly. And first, comment on the price of golf out there. I played at TPC Scottsdale a couple times in December, and it is definitely pricey. So, in Troon, and but cool. So the couple things, like, I like the idea of starting almost in thinking about your audience potential leads in concentric circles. So a good place to start is like, what is closest to already knowing, liking, trusting you in that innermost concentric circle, and then working out from there. Too many coaches sort of go in the opposite direction, which is like, I have this list of people who know, like, and trust me, have already done a lesson with me, already seen me in person, literally know my name and my face. But instead of going there, I'm going to go to the widest circle, and I'm going to start to post on the internet and see if I can attract complete strangers from all over the world by just throwing up social media content, which is, with competing with everyone in this vast space. So I love your approach. Like, start where you're at and slowly grow out from there. Partnership opportunities, affiliates, like, this is just a way of labeling. Do you already have relationships that have contact information of golfers who might potentially be interested in what you do? And we all do. We just have to think about it a little bit and start to say, like, okay, can I get access to this? Right? You talked about like members versus like, I forget the terms exactly, but like day members versus, seasonal stuff like that. Most coaches are going to have some sort of list opportunity like that, whether it's at the club, the facility, even if it's just the driving range, the renting space out of, whatever that is. Try to explore those first and see if there's a way that they'll allow for you to send broadcast emails or get access to the list where you can send the emails on your own. So that's a great place to start. Then, bigger picture, when we're talking about levels of awareness and buyers, which is kind of what you spoke to, which is like, all right, how do I convince somebody? How do I get them to believe that online instruction is the way that they can improve and that they actually want to participate in that? I wish I could draw right now on a whiteboard to help illustrate this stuff for anybody that's like more visual, but maybe I'll put something together and we could do a training on a webinar in the future when I come back as well. But there's levels of awareness when it comes to people buying different products. This exists in every market ever. And so the percentages is not really irrelevant to what I'm going to talk about right now. But what we want to understand is that there are golfers who, there's people that don't even play golf and don't care to play golf. We're not going after them, right? Then there are golfers at large who enjoy their recreational, but they've never really thought about or considered instruction or even really getting better right now. It's like, hey, I'll play 3 times a year and we'll see how it goes. It's fun when I'm out there. It's more of a drinking sport with their buddies than it is anything else. Right. Cool. There's that golfer. We probably don't want to go after them either because they are farthest away from, using the golf analogy, they're farthest away from the hole. Right? That's the hardest person to get in. That's the most amount of strokes. So we want to start to get, again, concentric circles working from, the closest out. We want to think about all right, what are the players that are already on the green? What is that ideal avenue or prospect? So for most, the closest to doing online instruction, one is there's already a segment of golfers out there that are aware of online instruction, have potentially worked with or are currently working with an instructor. Now, obviously, we're not going to try to poach people from other instructors, but there's a population of them. They try this out. They've worked with this coach over here. They've worked with this coach. They know it's a thing. They've given it a try, and maybe they're looking for a new coach. But there's not a lot of convincing there other than they need to know, and trust you. So we just have to build trust with them. We take a step back from that. There's people that have done instruction and are, interested in maybe finding a new coach. They just need to be exposed to the idea of doing it online. Take a step back from there. There's a golfer that's looking to improve that maybe has invested in clubs, or they're playing more frequently, and now they're looking for an instructor and they're deciding between in-person or online, for the first time. And so those are kind of the pools that are most relevant and to start to attract. So it's not as much as the population we want to get in front of. We're not necessarily going to try to convince them that they need instruction per se. We're mostly going to be speaking to the benefits of online versus just in person, right? Because that's the least amount of work or strokes to get them in the hole, right? So with that, in marketing to that person, the few things that have to happen in marketing. It has to be right person, the right market message match for that person. So we have to know how to speak to them, and we have to match it up with the right time. And that's how we get somebody to sign up. The time we can't know, right? That's variable by every single individual person. I may get a new job in the next couple of months. And because of that new job, I have to be playing golf for work more frequently. And so I don't want to be embarrassed. And so all of a sudden I'm looking for a golf instructor. We don't really know that one, but the one we want to focus on, right person and right offer opportunity message to be put in front of them. So I think that's important to understand is now that you have these initial 7 now, but you've done it with 8, and it sounds like you probably, enjoy a lot of these relationships that you've built through the process and things are going well. We now almost want to build a persona a marketing persona around those people to go find more of them. And so what I would go through the practice of is literally labeling this person, giving them a name, and now building out your marketing persona. You could do a male and a female version to say, okay, I got John and I got Jane, and this is who they are. And like compare it to the clients that you're working with right now. And then that's how we're going to build out our marketing message through the emails we're sending, and to if we decide to expand into social media marketing as well, or other channels of marketing. So that's the first exercise I would do, is get super clear. Is like, what are the commonalities between all of them? What stage in their journey where they're at? What have they tried before? Why did they decide to sign up to do this versus in person? What's those pains, the struggles, end goal that they're trying to achieve? More clear we can get on that, the more we know exactly what to say in emails and marketing moving forward.
Yeah. Let me think about that for a second.
And you necessarily have to answer now, because we don't have too long
I
left.
But yeah, the number one thing that they all have in common is they're very avid about wanting to improve and are open to coaching in their efforts to improve. And then they're also very open about giving me feedback as to even the most minuscule parts of that improvement. Handicap ranges vary from a guy who's in the top 10 golfers, amateur golfers over 60 years of age, all the way to really a novice golfer who just happened to buy an indoor simulator. That's a pretty big. I mean, I don't think he's played a whole lot of rounds on grass, and so that's the divergence there. And attitudinally, I think it's this willingness to say, okay, I trust you. You have credibility. I believe in what you're saying. I understand it. And then here I am doing it. How am I doing? If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So because we only have so much time left, and I want to get to Q&A as well, but I want to make sure that you leave with that action step. And honestly, like what I'd love to do too, is we can almost make this a bit of a series where it's like, all right, I'm going to follow up. I'll probably even ask some more questions because we had some limited time. I'm going to give you some stuff to do. And then we come back in, 2 months, 3 months, and then we report on how things went. And then we dive into the next steps and like, hey, this is the next key log in the sequence that we need to unlock. But I would say like the biggest thing from a marketing perspective and what to say to get somebody to sign up right now. So biggest roadblocks for most coaches getting started is, where do I get leads? What do I say to convince? And convince usually has like a negative connotation, but like get the prospect to decide this on their own, that they want to work with me and ultimately sign up. All right. So the tactical level is like, you need to have a way of putting a marketing message in front of potential prospects, that whether that be social media, paid ads, or partnerships and relationships where they have a list that you can email, or previous contacts that you already have. Like, so marketing message is an email marketing. Amazing. That's a way of putting this in front of people. We need to know what to say to them to get them interested. And that comes from like what you just said, understanding that person deeply so that we appeal to the right person when we go to attract them. And then tactic wise, we need a free experience offer, because that's the easiest to sell. There's not a lot of selling that goes into something that's free, to get people to have the first initial experience. And then we need a sales conversion mechanism, which is your Zoom call, which I love. So if we want to grow this over the next 3 months and we want to add 3 to 5 people a month, what we need to understand is like, okay, how do we get more people to do the free analysis and get more Zoom calls? Because we know right now, if we get on a Zoom call, high likelihood they sign up. So how do we get more Zoom calls? So then that might be a function working back from that of, okay, emails are working. 2 things I can do. I can send more frequently, or I can get more people onto that email list that I can mail to. Cool. Let's explore potentially a bit of both. Maybe we send twice a week and see how that goes. And we go next step out to club members, get that list, and try to convert them onto our email list. Cool, let's do that. Then let's look at the call to action to see, can I potentially get more people to do the initial free analysis if I change that wording a little bit? If I understand so deeply who this person is that like the way I say it in the email gets them to actually take me up on it. Sweet. When they do that, how many people from the free analysis book the Zoom call? Because if they book, high likelihood they signed up. And then that's the way I would, next 3 months is like just consistently increase, is let's look at that, understand all the numbers behind it, and then say, where do we pull the lever? More people on the email list, more offers made in emails, more follow-up with people on free analysis to get them on Zooms. We get them on Zooms, we close. Things are good.
Yep. And just one quick follow-up, then that is, that's one of the reasons I went with MailChimp, is I like their analytics. And then obviously you got analytics with YouTube videos as well. And then secondly, I've got a small group of professionals that I send the test email to and say, please tear this apart. Please be critical. Please tell me everything about it that you hate, and let me adjust it and send it back to you. One of them is she owns a very big marketing company who's a member here at Terra Vita. And, God bless her for volunteering to help me out. And then the other two, one of them is Jason Kiesling, who helps me with my videos. And then another partner I have, Mindy Boyson. So I send what I have it critiqued before I send it out, because, again, I'm not nearly as good as 5 people are giving me feedback.
I think I'll speak for Dan. I'm not sure he's going to get back on, but obviously unbelievable webinar. Thanks for providing all your insights. This is the last time our audience hears from you, Ron. Like I said, you've been with us for a long time, and more to come on some of the things that we're doing with you. Okay.
And just last note here, I just want to compliment Victor, the AI helper. If you think about it, someone sends you a video of their swing. It's a very personal thing. And so it's akin to a doctor's visit. And so there they are, they've sent you this video. They don't know what you're going to say. They're have a little bit of anticipation, like I might not be very good, and he's going to tell me I'm no good and I need to quit. And so they're in this place where they need reassurance that you're going to be all right, and I'm going to help you get there. And you don't have that many things, but here's number one. Victor is really good at setting that stage, because the instant the video hits me, Victor responds. And then some people are going to say, yeah, but Victor's not accurate. That's not really what I would say. Well, that gives you an opportunity to go in. Let me clarify that a little bit more. Sure. That may not have made sense. Let me try to clarify that more for you. And you can not correct Victor, who is me, my words, but you can enhance what he says, so that it again starts that relationship with the person that you're trying to help.
Right. So, and that's the point. We're not trying to replace you with an AI, right? We're trying to get to that opportunity and nurture that opportunity until you get the opportunity to step in. Right. So I appreciate your words on that. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. Really is.
Great. Dan, final words from you. Obviously, we're at the hour here. Another wonderful webinar. Take it away.
Yeah, got kicked out for a bit. Looks like me and Anthony have been having some internet troubles today, but back in. I mean, for me, it's just a big thank you to Ron for being willing to jump on and do this. I mean, honestly, we didn't have a ton of stuff to criticize you on, because I think just from a fundamental setup, like a lot of things, whether you're intentionally doing them this way or not, like you chose a pretty good path behind setting up. Now, there's things that like I would potentially work on over time, and there's going to be things that'll come up in the future. But as far as like simplicity of the approach to get started online, I think did a great job. Like it just use the list you already had, reach out to those people, make a clear free offer that's easier to get somebody to say yes to, build a relationship with that person. And then if it's a good relationship, offer them a next steps. And do that through a very personal Zoom call, so they feel like they got to connect with their potential coach and, are more bought into the proposition of working together. And so anybody that's like seeing this, it does not have to be as complicated. Ron does not have big social media presence and following. He's not a full-time content creation expert throwing stuff out on the internet. He's not posting all the time. He just took the list he already had, made a good offer, an opportunity to them, regularly started communicating with them, and now has an online business that he's looking to grow. And so those things may change in the future over time, but like it really can be that simple. It's not it doesn't have to be like a 100% all in. There's not this like black and white distinction. There's a lot of crossover and blend between the two. Just start small and iterate over time. The biggest thing that you can like pick one thing, one big roadblock, one big rock to turn over, start there, focus, go all in on it, and then slowly iterate as you grow. I think too many make it this huge, massive step that they have to take, and it just doesn't have to be that way. So I'm excited to see your journey, and yeah, I'd love to continue the conversation and keep helping as we go. So
please, coach, help me.
yeah, you're off to a really good start though, and yeah, it's exciting. I think this will be extremely beneficial for anyone that's watching it, and just understanding of it's not as scary or crazy as you might think. So
no, it isn't. It isn't.
Yeah. Anything else from you, Ron?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it isn't easy. You can't just sit on your couch and watch football and expect it to take off. You got to spend the time. You got to do the work. And I wasn't surprised at it being a slow start in July and the things that occurred that were kind of beyond my control. But stay with it. Keep going. I said earlier, I love the tortoise and the hare. You know why? 100% of the time that the tortoise wins the race. He's undefeated. So just because it starts off really slowly like that doesn't mean it's unsuccessful. And I can see how this is going to grow into something that's going to be really great for me later on. But you got to stay with it. You got to keep going. You got to keep practicing, just like trying to get better at golf.
Yeah, 100%. I would encourage any coach that wants to try something from either this interview or something they find on the internet is go do it for at least 90 days and have tunnel vision on doing that thing effectively and well. And then at the end of the 90-day experiment, you can say whether it'll work for you or not. And even then, you may need longer, but at least give it 90 days. The number of coaches that are exactly like their students who bounce around from YouTube video to YouTube video to one day I'm working on the takeaway and doing this drill to the next day I'm focusing on my weight shift at the top of the backswing and P4, P6, all that whatever it is, getting into the weeds and bouncing around. The number of coaches that are exactly like that when it comes to their business, who are like, ooh, that looks cool. Ooh, that looks cool. Chasing squirrels and never sticking with anything long enough to where one thing worked and got them one client, but then, they just didn't keep doing that thing. And that's the simplest thing you can do in business is find something that works and just double, triple, 10x on that thing. And then once you get to a certain threshold, you have the breathing room to come up and, all right, we're going to calibrate, right? Come up for water or come up from air from the water and recite the scope. But if you don't do it long enough, you never really get to that point. And I see because of the social media landscape, that's what happens. It's happening to all of us. We're all distracted. And so, picking one thing, focusing, running it for 90 days, seeing how it goes, you can't email your old lead list once and expect to get 50 people to sign up with you online. You got to email them every single week and continually doing it and just commit to the process. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And I just think, like you said perfectly and well said, go really deep and really focused into this for an extended period of time, and don't make judgments about it until you've given yourself a long enough period of time to be able to make that judgment. 1 week isn't going to do it. It isn't. It just isn't going to work. I think 6 months at the earliest, probably 12 months is more reasonable. Then you have a track record you can look at and see if it's working or not.
Yep. Awesome. I think that's a great place to leave everybody. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll definitely be back with another one of these series with Ron. So
Very good. And if anyone wants to call me or talk to me about this in person, please feel free to do that. You can go to the V1 site. I'm listed on there as an instructor, and you can get my phone number there.
and you guys should know where to find me at this point, but yeah.
Exactly.
Thanks everybody.
Dan, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you got it.